So once again, thank you for joining us. Today's a little bit different. We're going to mix it up. We are very privileged today. We're going to be joined by Jane Blakeborough, who's on here, and Jane is the founder and director of Trend Monitor. So when we start off, as some of you who has joined us before, you've noticed that we start off by putting knowledge before assumption and the trend map. And Jane is the one that's been responsible for helping us do that. And what I wanted to do was to share with you more information and give you a wider view of the overall market, and then be able to chisel away and look more closely at the trends that are affecting Daval. So in terms of what we're looking to do today, the outcomes of our meeting will be to understand the key drivers of personalisation, what customers are looking for and how it's affecting their thinking, their mindset, and what they're looking at products. What does it say about them as people? We're going to share the key information from Trend Monitor, so I'll give you a wider view of the market and the big mega trends that are out there, and then, as I say, funnel that down more to what is appropriate to furniture, and then also then therefore into Daval and us as a retail partnership. And clearly, how can furniture help you stand out and meet those needs? And give you some examples of how we can personalise furniture to maybe meet your clients further. So for those who have not seen it so far, this is our trend map. And this is what Jane and our leadership team went through at the back end of last year to create. And what we started to do, look at the brand of Daval and understand exactly what are the key drivers that are influencing us right now, and they're the ones in the green, and also what has a negative effect on our company, such as the ones in the red. And it's understanding a greater of awareness about that to understand psychologically how our consumers are thinking, and therefore how can we tailor our entire offer throughout the whole value chain to therefore meet and add more value to our clients. So far, we have covered off the topic of sustainability, which was incredibly important, and I think you all can fully appreciate now why some of those key features would drive or influence the purchase decision process. But we're also going to start to pick up on other things like urbanisation, the fact that houses are getting smaller, and what does that mean for furniture? How can it work harder? How is online influencing their decision process? And obviously wellness and health is a big topic right now. Everybody's getting their daily exercise in. But as I say, today is more about personalisation and understanding the key drivers of that. So what is it? What does it really mean? And obviously for us, what that means is tailoring that service, the product, to accommodate the individual needs greater. And the three subtopics that we're going to pick up on with under that is mass customization, face-to-face communication, experiential outlets. And we're going to understand really what they mean to fulfill the whole area of personalisation, so we can understand how to talk to our customers and understand how to tailor the furniture a little bit more. And as you can see, this is clearly a big driver for us at Daval, because this is the one that's really drove our thought process ever since 2007, when we flipped our business to a made-to-order company. And the reason we did that was purely down to this trend. So I can hand on heart say that this means something. This is important, but also this is a key driver in the industry. And Daval wouldn't have had double-digit growth every year since if we didn't understand the key importance of this trend and what it really means to our clients. The other thing I'd say is it's only going to get bigger, and I'll come on to it a bit later, but in terms of all the way through the whole value chain, what does it mean from machinery all the way through to raw materials, through to retailing, through to consumers, and how can we really adapt to that? Question is, why are we looking at this topic? And as we've said before, people do not buy products. They buy states, identities, or a lifestyle. Because when I'm personalizing a product, it's saying something about me, how I want to live, how I want to express myself out to the greater world, to my friends, to my family. And your home is the greatest way that you can self-express. And it's a real understanding of what that means as a home, but also psychologically, how can we start talking to customers? Because we also at Daval, our leadership team, have gone through a program, a business results program. And we're also looking at psychology, because we believe that mechanics are 20% and psychology is 80%. And the rule is, as we always know, is treat somebody how you want to be treated. No. Treat them how as they want to be treated. And if you start to flip your mindset and understand what we mean by that, I think you'll really start to understand how personalisation stands out. So what we're going to do at this point is I'm going to hand you over to Jane Blakeborough. So Jane is the research director and founder of Trend Monitor, and this is the leading trend business for the KBB industry. Jane has a very wide appreciation of what the global megatrends are and drilling it down into furniture. And what I wanted to do was to be able to give you this third-party information first, because Jane sees a much wider view of it rather than what we does. So at this point, what I'm going to stop doing is I'm going to stop sharing my screen. And I'm going to hand you over to Jane. So Jane, I've just unmuted you. So at the bottom there,
Okay.
Jane, on the browser, you should hopefully be able to share your screen.
Here we go. Is that right? Share? There we go.
That's it.
Yeah, can you hear me okay?
Yeah, absolutely perfect. Thank you, Jane.
Okay. Well, hello everybody. This is a complete new experience for me, and I'm just amazed how many people are out there listening. So thank you very much for joining us, and thank you to Simon for inviting me. We had a really interesting afternoon at the end of last year with the Daval leadership team, and we were looking at all the growing trends that will potentially have an impact on Daval business in the future. And as you can see from the trend map that came out of that, we were looking at it mainly from a manufacturing point of view, but we also kept the retail outlets in mind, and how Daval could go on to support their retail network by understanding these trends. Because you are the people talking to the consumer, you know them best. But we also need to understand how, as manufacturers, we can provide the kind of products that consumers want in the future, not just now, but in the future, in the next 10 years. So Simon has already said, just explain what personalisation is. So just to repeat, it's tailoring a product or service to accommodate an individual's requirements. So instead of saying one size fits all, that's all you can have, you're saying to your customers, what is it that you want? What can we help you with? And we want to go through 3 ways of personalisation. There is product personalisation, there's lifestyle personalisation, and there's also how you can personalise your brand. So we will start with product personalisation. And this is more relevant than ever before. We recognise it as a global megatrend. It crosses continents, industries, age group, gender. Consumers worldwide are demanding personalised products, and at a certain level, it's expected. We see it in fashion, in cars, holidays, fitness, birthday cards, trainers, anything you like can be personalised. And we're moving more, because of this demand, we're having to move into mass customisation, which is where technology has enabled the larger manufacturers to be able to do what originally only the smaller, more bespoke makers were able to do, because they were more agile and they could adapt products on the go. But as Simon has explained, that you know, there is a need to provide personalisation and flexibility in custom-made manufacturers, but on a larger scale, and technology allows this now. So whilst it's mass customization to a larger audience, it's still allowing that customization in the consumer's mind. They can have what they like. And furniture is probably ahead of the game, but appliances, kitchen appliances are doing the same. We've seen Samsung, their bespoke range offers the chance to change the colour of the front of the fridges to match the you know, the colour palette in the kitchen. I also want to bring up 3D printing at this point, because this is the ultimate in personalisation. And a few years ago, you know, we looked at it and went, God, you know, what on earth is that? Now it's everywhere, and it's not going to go away. It's just going to get bigger, and we will understand it better. And it's certainly, you know, when we go to the trade shows, a lot of the manufacturers are there showing how they are going to be using 3D printing in the future. We've also got the consumer trend for premiumisation, and it's a trend that is growing, and I think it will grow more in the future, which I'll come on to in a minute. But this is basically the fact that we are buying less things. We want less stuff in our homes, but we want better things. We want things that are more tailored to our own lifestyle, and we're prepared to pay more for those products. So rather than buying lots of things that we don't particularly need and create a lot of clutter, we are looking as a consumer group, looking at better products more tailored to our lifestyle. Of course, there's the smart home, which is gaining traction all the time, and manufacturers are getting clever about, you know, the benefits of the smart home. And it used to be very gimmicky and, oh, look what this does, and people go, well, so what? But actually the real benefit of the smart home is that the technology allows the appliances or whatever you've got connected to learn how you live as a household and adapt accordingly, which is, you can't really get more personalized than that. And the marketing is reflecting that now. So the products that are coming onto the market are all smart ready. So this is a trend that is only going to grow. It's certainly not going to go away, and I think the consumer will understand more and more the benefits of it. I also want to add in the current situation. Now, all of the trends that I've shown above are trends that we've been looking at for some time. We've also got to take into fact that we are going to have a reaction to the way that we're living at the moment. What that reaction will be is unclear, but certainly the consumer reaction to lockdown restrictions is going to be quite extreme to start with, because we, you know, as a nation, we're used to an awful lot of freedom and a lot of freedom of choice, and we've basically been told to, you know, told what to do and been treated in a sort of mass herd-like way. And our reaction to that will be to exert our choice when we come out. And what those choices are will be to do with how we want to live and what we want to buy. We have also been pushed very much into our multifunctional homes. Multifunctional was a trend that we have been watching for some time, and it is a trend that was on the increase, but suddenly it's gone orbital, because we are working from home, we're schooling from home, we're exercising from home, we're socializing from home, we're doing everything from our home, and it just shows how much we can do, and how our homes can be adapted to do a lot more. Now, what that backlash will be is unclear. We might all go, oh God, I'm never going to go back home, I'm going to go out more. But I think certainly from a work point of view, we're going to have to look at how we adapt products that have multifunctional uses. And that's a discussion that you have to have with your customers about what those multifunctional uses will be. So what I want to just show is that alongside this personalisation being supported by some really big mega trends going on at the moment, it's also supported very much by interior design trends. And as Simon has said, there is nowhere that personalisation is more relevant than in the home. And I really like saying that he said a couple of times, which the home is the greatest way to self-express. And I think the KBB industry as a whole has grasped the concept of personalisation and is starting to make it happen. And it's a key theme in some of the major trade shows last year at ISH. I don't know how many of you go to ISH, but personalisation and individualism was their key theme last year. And I'm sure a number of you went to KBB Birmingham this year, and we were there tracking some, the design trends. And these are just a few that support the personalisation trend. So we have got handles, the return of the handles, which I think is just great because I love handles on furniture. And so we're moving away from the white slab front handleless look. And, you know, this is a great way to be able to personalise your kitchen. We've also got a number of manufacturers that are starting to display products out on, you know, on shelving, in modular holders, and instead of hiding away what we used to see as clutter, we are now putting it out on display, and the manufacturers are enabling this by some really sort of stylish solutions to displaying our personal things that show you know, where we've travelled, what we like, our own taste. We've also got colour. Colour is coming back in the home in a big way, which is great for everybody. And not just here's a colour chart, it's what colour would you like, match it to your favourite lipstick, or mix and match colours, 2 different colours, 3 different colours throughout the units, kitchen units. We've got every different type of colour and finish on our brassware. And this is an image, it's not from KBB, it's actually an image that we've used on a blog post about maximalism. Now, maximalism is a trend that's coming through as a reaction to minimalism. And it's where we are showing all of our personality in our homes. And if you think about minimalism, it's about uniformity and conforming to a certain sort of look. Whereas maximalism is the complete opposite, and it's throwing everything out there and saying, look, this is me, this is how I live. And things like Instagram have really picked up on this, and there are apparently 170,000 posts with the maximalism hashtag, and a whole host of influencers that are tapping into this trend. So next I want to look at lifestyle personalisation, and as the kitchen continues to be the hub of the home and making the kitchen personal to the lifestyle of the household is becoming more and more important. And as I said earlier, this is changing as we come out of lockdown and look at the way we've used our homes and how we could use it better, and who we share our homes with and who we want to share our homes with. And a key influence is, as I say, who we share our homes with, but there are some demographics behind all of this that are you know, changing family demographics. So for example, we are having less children, we're having children later in life, and this is one of the reasons why pets are so popular. It's because, you know, young couples, they're practicing nurturing before they go on to have children. Less couples are getting married, more couples are cohabiting, whether they're opposite sex or same sex, and things like we have more lone parent fathers than ever before. And we need to start looking at households as well as families. The split between the number of families and number of households is there are 19.2 million families, which are a family unit, which is usually a couple with dependent children. And they compare this to 27 million households. Now, we class households as people not necessarily related, but share a communal area. So they have separate bedrooms and bathrooms maybe, but they share a lounge and a dining room, and that is a household. So it can be a family, but it's not necessarily a family. And just to clarify, a family is a couple with or without dependent children. So it's an important demographic to look at. We are now having more multifamily households, which consist of 2 or more families. But this used to be the smallest share of households, but this is currently the fastest growing household type over the last 2 decades. And this can be things like 2 couples sharing, house sharing. So then they're not necessarily related, but they're 2 couples that share costs, share childcare, share the mortgage, or you can have a couple with their children and with a child and their partner, so they're related. We've also got 8.2 million people that live alone. And this is another growing household type. And almost half of these lone households are people aged 65 and over. And this brings us on to the ageing population, which is another global megatrend. By 2050, it's projected that 1 in 4 people in the UK will be aged 65 and over. And this is an increase from 1 in 5 in 2018. And if we look at globally, we are aging the nation faster than the rest of the world, because by 2015, globally, it'll be 1 in 6 people, whereas in the UK, it will be 1 in 4. And this leads us on to multi-generational families, because you've got families that have, on one hand, have got the boomerang children that have gone to university and come back and are staying at home because they want to save up for their deposit on the mortgage. And at the other end of the scale, you've got the elderly coming back to live with the families. So you've got these multi-generational families. And I think it'll be really interesting to see how the multi-generational household will change post COVID-19, after a large number of households have actually been forced into this household arrangement. And was it a good experience for them? Or was it something they'd never want to do again, or something they would do but would like to, but need to make necessary changes to their home to make it work? We've also got urbanisation, which we touched on earlier, another global megatrend, but again, very relevant in the UK. So globally, 55% of the world's population is currently living in an urban area. In the UK, it's 84% of the population lives in an urban area. And this has resulted in smaller housing. In fact, we already have the smallest housing in Europe. And obviously, there are obvious attractions to cities. There's greater social and economic benefits, but there's also increased social isolation, and this is leading to the rise in co-living and co-working spaces. However, if we look at what has happened with the coronavirus and the reaction to the part that cities have played to the spread of the virus, it will be interesting to see whether the urbanisation trend will be maybe slowed slightly, that people don't see the benefits of living in the city so much, and particularly if we don't have to work in offices, but we can live in a rural environment and still have the benefits of a big city employer, but working remotely. But that's a trend that we need to monitor. And finally, just want to touch on brand personalisation. As Simon said, you know, people buy they buy an idea, they buy from people they like, and it's another way of looking at the personalisation trend. You know, how do you personalise your brand? How do you make it different? How do you make it about you and what you stand for? And by doing that, you automatically appeal to a certain demographic. So we touched on face-to-face experiences. And retail outlets are so important. I know we all worry about online buying and undercutting online, things like that. But I think the face-to-face experience of a retail outlet, particularly when buying something as important as a kitchen, it just, people want to have that experience. They want to talk to people. They want to engage with somebody. Because we spend so much time online, and it can be so confusing to go in to talk to people that are experienced, that can help you through a complicated process is very, very important. We also talked about experiential retailing, which is a key retail trend. And just to sort of explain that more, it's about the merging of retailing with entertainment and experiences. And it allows customers to immerse themselves in the culture of your brand, to try the product, to see what it feels to have these products without actually making the purchase. And it makes the sort of purchase process beyond the price, makes it more important than price. It's about helping people understand how important these products can be to them in their own home. Curated displays, which is something that Simon and I were talking about yesterday, and very often the amount of choice that we have is overwhelming to the customer, and they actually just get to the point where they just can't choose. And by putting your personality, your retail brand personality out there, by curated displays, you are actually helping them to build a look that they want, rather than having to dismiss so many things over and over again before they can finally find something that they really like. And you can really help them by curating displays. Instead of displaying everything, just show them you know, the best that you've got there. And premiumization comes into this again. It's about buying less of everything, and buying things that are more important, that are better quality, that are better suited to their lifestyle. And the last thing is communication. Are you personalizing the way that you communicate with your potential customers? Do you really understand your target market, how they think, how they behave? And are you meeting them where they hang out online? Are you actually meeting them where they go? And having a personalized communication strategy means that you're talking to the right people in their own language. And that's it, really. So thank you very much for listening, if you're all still there, and I'll hand you back to Simon.
That's amazing. Thank you, Jane. So Jane, if you could just unshare your screen, please.
Oh, how do I do that? Oh yeah, there we go.
Perfect, thank you.
Go back to my mug of tea now.
And so that's, again, hopefully as you can see, our intention is all about looking at the wider trends and then chiseling it down into what with the furniture can do in order to help you stand out. And so Jane's insight to there is so powerful, and I've got tons and tons and tons of notes just going on. That's sparked off a number of different ideas for me personally, but I absolutely agree. And the key takeaways that you're on about there, Jane, for me was that what we saw at KBB and the complementary items that furniture can look at, whether that be appliances, sinks, taps, handles. And handles has been huge for us, so I can give you that instant feedback right now when we see a definite growth in handles. The contemporary display in particular at KBB, we put on with handles rather than a handleless kitchen because of that growth in handles, and it's something that we picked up in our trend session with yourselves. 3D printing, we've started a partnership with the Huddersfield University about 3D printing, and we're looking at plastic printing, and also they also do 3D and metal printing. So we could do it two ways, from a product perspective, or it could be through to even the machines. So like for me, that's a massive growth area there. And obviously the curation aspect of what you mentioned is really interesting as well, and that's something that we will pick up on later. So in terms of the first topic of mass customization, that's really that's kind of our bag, if I'm being honest. That is what we've done since 2007, and I wanted to give you a little insight into terms of what we did and how we found the journey over the process. So we've got, you know, literally born and raised in a factory. You've got furniture running through the blood. With such a passion for the industry, we have a very, very good gut feel of what's going on, and very close connection with partnerships like yourselves. What we said was, when we're going to do this, what we need to go out is and put knowledge before assumption. So go and confuse us with some facts. And the key understanding we needed from this is, why would the consumer buy from that independent retailer rather than this one? And as I said before, the retailers generally, they've weathered the storms of the recession. They've been there before. They provide great service because you're all independent retailers. Yeah, you're good at personalizing products. So what is it? What are the key takeaways of that? So we did some independent shopping with 20 end consumers and a third party, so that we didn't influence the process. And the key drivers that they were looking for was, What were your sources of inspiration? Where were you looking? Which showrooms did you visit? Do you have any brand awareness? Those types of things. And then after the experience of when they've been in, how did they find the showroom? What made up their decision process? What stood out for them? And these two quotes I've had on my desk for forever and a day, because they stand out to me more than ever. And it's the design studio saying, I want customers to feel I'm making their dream a reality and adding my own flair. Yet on the other opposite side, we've got the consumer saying, I know the look I want and I'll pay for something that's more unique to me. And that sums up pretty much every single trend that we've just talked about there. And so from that point, what we decided to do was, we've got to change our rhetoric. We've got to change how we talk, how we view furniture. And it's not about product. It goes back to the first slide. It's about lifestyle. And so for Daval, it's not necessarily about making a product. It's about expression, allowing customers to collaborate, and we inspire to show you the latest innovations that are out in the market and help you understand how we can link these up and how you can personalize the furniture even more. So the reason, what we did was, obviously at that time we had a huge investment into the company, but we did it all over again. And I want to reiterate why we've done it again, because clearly the trend is growing and growing, and it will only get bigger. So Daval, you know, is very much a leader in terms of the world of personalization for furniture, but also in terms of the lean manufacturing principles. So we've pioneered the area in terms of how we make made-to-order furniture on a volume basis. And that's very much what mass customization is. Today we reinvested again because it's about taking it to the next level, and it's what people are calling with industry as digital manufacturing 4.0. And how do we get the world of digital to be more powerful within manufacturing, to greater allow customers to personalize the furniture? So all the way from the machine suppliers looking at what they're calling a batch one production process. How do I make kitchen by kitchen, bedroom or by bedroom, but more on a volume basis? And so we're constantly seeing at the trade shows more and more features being released, more and more adaptability for machines, more and more functions of that. But for us, it was about data. If we can adapt the digital world and put data as a central point of view, if we have one pot, then we can all look at that in a different way. And the data from the model comes out and it goes all the way down to the supply chain to create MRP and the demand of what's required. We have capacity planning, we have complete traceability of the product. We can in automation so that we treat the specials as standards. From a sales point of view, it allows us to create greater amount of communication, because automation means that it doesn't lose jobs. It just means you redeploy people to where they're valuable. Quality control, communication, checking, and also a greater amount of information. So the data pot that we do create not only drives the sales order acknowledgements and the features and options that we do, but it also drives the likes of the CAD data for CompuSoft, for Fusion, for EQ, for Smart, and everybody else that's involved within that arena. So our view is it's an end-to-end solution, but it's one pot of data. And that's why we spent so long reinventing it again. And that's why we've spent up to £1.5 million recently in doing it all over again. And the reason for that is because we want to give you confidence and capability. When we understand and we learn by your own mistakes, what we want to do is do something once and therefore it to be automated through the process. So it's clear for everybody. We always say, we have a little saying within Daval that you can't see the wood for the trees. And sometimes you've got to make it idiot proof. So when what's being agreed in the showroom, how do we translate that to the person on the production line to assemble that piece of furniture? Because you could have created it completely differently. But by adopting a 3D world, a 3D model, what we can do is pick up on the trend for urbanization, because what furniture will have to do, it'll have to start adapting a lot quicker. So it'll have to also be multifunctional. And Jane and I started talking about, with all this home working, you know, you could think, oh, well, will there be an increase in home offices? No, because homes are getting smaller. But furniture will have to therefore be multifunctional, because we still have all these things to store, but we just have to work differently. And the work and the furniture has to transition. That's why we introduced pocket doors as an example, because if we have smaller homes, you need to be able to close away that furniture and hide what's therefore coming through from the living room. Again, if we've got multi-generations coming through, how can that furniture adapt from the younger kids all the way up to the grandparents? Because we may have that within there. So storage and storage solutions is going to be bigger. And personalisation, the growth of personalisation, therefore means that the trends are going to come through faster. So how do we pick up on that? And that doesn't mean being fashion orientated, but what it means is how can we understand what's coming through in the market and how can we make the furniture last a lot longer? So what we did was, we have to do, along with what I'm saying of confidence and capability, we spent nearly 18 months building data before we started to go through and start and putting machinery into place. But it only ever works if you have the two coming together, and the communication between the machines and the software which drives the machines is the secret sauce, really. And so it's a 3-year process, and what you can start to see here is some of the new items as they went into there. So we have on the top left, the board store area, which allows us to automate the process and make sure that we're constantly cutting order by order. The drilling, the edge banding machines, the software, the layout plans, everything's there within that. And it's not about just looking at the trend for personalisation. From a Daval point of view, this is about securing the next generation. This is about the next 10 years. This is about, you know, looking at a wider view of where the market's going to go and how we can adapt to it. And we also had a people process behind the scenes to also support this infrastructure change. So the automation that goes into it, as I keep saying, guys, it's more about making sure that people go to where they're valued rather than just putting in loads of widgets like a mass manufacturer would. And so we had to think about the whole process of part identification from the very, very front. We also had to think about how we handle the product. So you can see that there's a trolley there, and this is something that myself and my brothers came up with to adapt how we transport the furniture, because you can go to many different factories, and I know that you've done the same, and as you grow throughout the process, all you start to see is more and more stacks and stacks of furniture. Well, if you're making order by order, that doesn't work and that doesn't apply. So we have to think about how we handle the furniture. And from a lean manufacturing principle, you only touch things to add value and not to add waste. And so the creation of these allows us to produce a kitchen 30% faster and vastly reduce the amount of handling processes in there. We've had to look at how we communicate throughout the entire business. So we've introduced things like terminal services. So everybody gets a view of what's happening and the process is larger, so the communication is a lot more clearer. And the machines we have, you know, the edge banding machine as an example of a 65-page specification document purely based on personalization. So the machine can kick out volume, but all the time at the front end, we're putting in settings and standards to apply to different textures, finishes. Does it have a film on the front? What's the thickness? And so the infrastructure and the base is there to take it on and really revolutionize manufacturing and take it to the next level. But what can we do with that now? And we can give you a greater experience. So from a bedroom perspective, size is clearly a very important factor. And from day one, when we flipped the business, to be able to take the wardrobes up to the ceiling for just £25 was a game changer. So this is giving people the luxury of the product at a very accessible price point. And so the changes of the size could also be then flipped back to what we're talking about in terms of urbanization, how furniture has to adapt. And I've had a number of meetings with architects and specifiers on, can wardrobes become dividing walls? Because they're there for dual purpose. And people planning in different ways of using furniture. So could wardrobes then store other functions? Because they're great, you know, these things are sometimes as big as a garden shed, and they can store a multitude of information in there. Can the wardrobe have a number of different configurations in there? Because, you know, we've showed at KBB new solutions and shelving solutions. We've got more glass coming through, more leather. So how can the drilling in terms of the features be used where we have an option to turn them on and off? Is it there functionally for a storage, or will it be used for just purely a visual purpose to inspire people? How else can we personalize furniture? So it could be a completely bespoke color option, as Jane said. What color is your lipstick? And we've had some really weird and wonderful colors. I'll be honest, we've had Postbox red, mustard yellows, but we've also had some beautiful greens and blues, which has influenced the trends and why we introduced the likes of the forest green, morning blue, storm blue as an example. And that was off the back of trend forecasting and also all the amount of bespoke color matches that we've done out there, and we combine the two. In the UK, we have a very unique architecture, and you can do urban city living. You can have a beautiful townhouse up in Edinburgh. You can go to a Yorkshire barn conversion. So furniture has to adapt to the style and the personalisation of the room set. And so how does it need to look? And what else can we do with that? Another way that we could personalise is to really tap into the key drivers of the person. Are they somebody who's interested in sustainability, ethical sourcing of products? Okay, well then therefore obviously we can go down the other route of looking at Renzo that's fully recycled. Pet beds is what we showed, funnily enough, at KBB because of, as exactly Jane was saying, the changes that we're seeing in demographics and the increase in pets. So we can do it in a number of different ways, but each and every time I'd say psychologically we've got to constantly tap into the consumer and understand what their key drivers are. Again, don't treat somebody as you want to be treated, treat them as how they want to be treated. Understand what type of person they are, what type of lifestyle they live, and how can we really adapt even further rather than just selling them boxes. Something I'd like to share with you is some of the experience side of what I'm seeing through retail out in the wider market, but then also what can we do as a KBB community to adapt different processes. So I'll be honest, I spend more time looking at fashion and cars than I do at other furniture brands. And the reason being is that they're so interesting to me. So from a fashion point of view, Burberry launched their main headquartered showroom, which is 121 Regent Street in London. And it's an absolutely incredible experience. That's the only way I can create it. But what you do is you feel the brand as soon as you walk in there. Now, if you think of that, we have fast fashion, should I say, think about having to change your business every 6 months. Your product comes in and is deleted and has no longer than a 6-month shelf cycle. Now, to believe that in our world, that would blow your brains, but the way that they've done it is to adopt digital manufacturing processes. And so what they can do is catwalks on a large digital screen, as you can see through there. So people are looking at the new innovations and they can select from there. They've also then integrated their supply chain so that therefore when people are clicking through and giving them feedback about what's good on the new runway, the manufacturing cycle is stocking up behind the scenes to then fulfill the demand. So they're not actually putting a collection out there at risk saying, okay, here's 10 new items, which one do you want? They're actually flipped it on its head and said, which ones do you want? This is what we'll make from our collection. They've then integrated other areas of it. And so how else can we make fashion part of our lives because it's part of our identity? But they've done things like music festivals and stream them live through. They have social media coming on the screen so that there's a living heart and soul of the brand and people taking pictures of themselves saying, look at what I'm doing in my new Burberry trench coat as an example. The other way that they've done that is that they've seamlessly blurred digital and physical lines. And this is a clear reason why we've done digital manufacturing first, because we must understand how we can give a greater experience to the purchase decision process. So as you get your bag, you put your bag on this little glass desktop and there's a chip in there. And up pops the video, and the video tells you exactly about how it was made, why they've made the collection. You can see a model holding the bag and understanding what it looks like. And you can also drill down and see all the different color options that you can buy it in and how you can personalize the product. And I think it's very, very interesting to understand how retail is becoming the new hospitality. And so if you want to have a look, there's a little link at the bottom there, which shows you from the YouTube video of a background of their CEO introducing their new store. But also I've got 3 areas that I'd like to look at in terms of how we can adapt from a KBB point of view. At Daval, we're very, very fortunate to be able to We don't know all about retailing whatsoever. We're a manufacturer. But what we do is we're able to go into the best studios throughout entire breadth of Great Britain and understand what's working and what's not working, why people see certain trends, and where we have the ability to share that information with you. And so, as you can see, the key thing that we need to do to help our end consumer is help them make the right choice. We've all seen the introduction of 50 Shades of Grey into our market right now, and it's blowing people's brains in some instances. And to an extent, there is almost too much choice. So as retailers, we must therefore educate our clients and also make it easy for them. We need to understand what their needs and wants are, but how can we really start to use our knowledge and our supply chain to drill it down and to then therefore give them an acceptable package of what is required for their lifestyle. And it's very much about, it's not about selling solutions. It is about selling more solutions and not about more choice. We want to show them and guide them throughout the process. And I think this is definitely a way that we can see retail changing, because the big change that we've seen is less and less displays. So we've had a larger display so that you can really understand the trend, the lifestyle, the functionality of it. But the less displays means a greater presentation area. And the presentation area is really allowing the customer to get into all the different options and how they can personalize that product to their lifestyle. We could also use online as an example here. So if we're showing less in the showroom, we can actually show more options. If it's online, and therefore there's an increase in trend for configurators or storage solutions. Social media is very helpful because it shows how the end client has actually adapted that piece of furniture to their lifestyle. So some may use that pantry or larder for fresh veg and fruit. Somebody else might use it for candle making or flower arranging. So each and every time, it's about guiding them as a group. We can then look at a separate area of craft, and the thesis for me is where you can really start to show your expertise. As a design-led industry, I know that there's a big topic about charging for designs and various things like that, but it's a growing and specialized profession. And craft for me is an area that you can really start to differentiate your style out from the mid, particularly the mid market to the lower end market, where that squeeze is starting to come. And you can really start to sell your expertise, but tell the story of who we are and what we do. And we must constantly talk about our heritage, how products are made, where they come from, how they're ethically sourced, to really start to sell at a greater or higher level than we've ever done before. And what the change I have seen in that is people are actually positioning a large presentation desk at the front or middle of their store, because it's the heart of what they do. So rather than shoving designers off into the back corner onto a tiny little desk because, you know, it doesn't take up display space, they're actually picking that up and making it a central part of their proposition. Because let's be honest, if you want to go out and buy cabinets, you can do it online, and you can do it a lot easier than going through to some certain showrooms. So what we need to do is show the craft, show the design expertise, show the mood boards, the palettes, the trend walls, and these things can really, really help. Social media would be an excellent area that we can do this. So constantly I'm seeing the growth of mood boards or small selections or personalized things of pictures of handles as an example, and that's really starting to show the craft element. And again, it's about seeing a reduction in the amount of displays, but also that could help, it could help a retailer from that point of view, because the fewer amount of displays therefore means there's a less cost or less overhead of the business, and therefore we're not having to change displays as regularly. If we adapt the view that personalisation or presentations areas could be greater within our showrooms. And the third area and final area that I'd like to talk about is the area of community, and this is really, really interesting to me, as we said, like, hospitality is the new retail. So we need to give customers another reason to come back to our showroom that's not just about product. So as we said at the very start of the process, who they are, how they live, who's in their family, do they have pets, what are their interests? And we've seen a greater amount of interest in the likes of craft and flower arranging and candle making and things like that. How can we bring that into the retail space? So we already do cooking demonstrations, and they've got some great feedback, and we've done some ourselves at Daval. It's really interesting to see how people come together, how they interact for that. And as I say, it's not just about product, but as we're giving them the real life experiences of how they would do it at home, let's bring that and draw that back into the retail space. And we've seen it with other people like Apple holding tutorials on how to use their product, Waterstones with book readings and book signings. It's not just about going there to do a transaction. It's also about how we live. So there are some examples down there, and my local Italian restaurant as an example, I can go there, I can do wine tasting, I can do bread or pasta making. Yeah, I can learn a skill. I've not gone there to buy a meal. And this is really how we're starting to create community, and from community it glows out back to social media, and social media therefore does the whole circle and therefore drives more traffic back into the showroom to buy more products. So if we can get our heads around community, I genuinely believe that this is one of the greatest growth areas of the market. And you as an independent retailer, you have the opportunity to do that. So what's your local Facebook page? How can you interact with other high street or artisan makers? How can you make a connection with them? How can you be the voice of the high street and not just somebody who's taking on the side? The question about all of this for me is, again, why do we care? And the reason we care is because we've been in your place. We started as an independent retailer. So just after, in 1979, 1980, my parents opened up their first retail store, and it was called David Bodsworth Furniture Manufacturers, trading as distinctive interiors. And doesn't necessarily roll off the lips, does it? But this store is actually in the village next door to us right now, of where we are from Slathwaite at Sparfields. And we understand what it means to be an independent retailer. And we truly, truly believe that this is the best place to buy furniture, and it's the best way to experience furniture. And so what I would say to that end is, we know your pain and we listen to you, and all we want to do is to help you drive this area of personalisation. So that brings us to the end of today's topic. First and foremost, I would like to thank Jane massively for your input in terms of what that means. I hope we've inspired you in terms of some ways that furniture can adapt and allow you to do that, and at least start off the conversation of how personalisation can drive greater value to your business if we just adapt it and change some of our thinking. So at this point, if you'd like to leave, all I'm going to say is thank you for your time and thank you for your commitment. We really appreciate you taking an hour out of your day to come and listen to us, so thank you.